What's up, Power Couples? This is Katherine Green of Power Couples Rock, and I have in the studio with me, to my right, I have, who?
Carlos Green.
All right.
What's up, Power Couples?
And then to my left, who do I have in the studio?
What's up, Power Couples? It's Chris, and this is your Power Boost for the day.
Yes.
Led by Katherine.
All right, let's get boosted, all right?
Yes.
Well, today, the Power Boost is about self-care. And this is really dear to my heart because it's important for women to understand how to take care of themselves before they take care of everybody else. I mean, we are wives, we're mothers, we're grandmothers, we're sisters, we're CEOs, we're teachers, I can go on and on and on. And we try to take care of all of those things. And then we fail to realize that when we don't take care of ourselves, those other things can cause us to be exhausted. Exhausted. So I am an advocate about women getting in there and taking care of themselves. Man, what do you think about giving a power boost about self-care?
Listen, I want to hear this. I need to hear this, right? Because my wife, Sonia, who's not with us here tonight, is actually not here because she's so exhausted, because she gives so much of herself to other people. And not only just our boys, to me, but also, she serves at the school. She does all kinds of stuff. And then she gets powered down. Those batteries are charged up, right?
Yes.
So as a man, I'd love to hear from a woman's perspective how you carve that out for yourself, especially for someone like Sonia, who's not here, who does not think about herself first. So how if I'm a man listening to this Power Boost, how can we work in order to allow for that to happen?
That's a great question. But
And then for Carlos, I would love for the men that are listening to this Power Boost to just understand what the benefits are when we have a wife who's actually powered up because she's done her self-care.
Absolutely.
How does that spill over into our relationship from a benefit standpoint?
Absolutely. I want to back up and just kind of say how I really made this a priority about 5 years ago. I was turning a specific age. I was moving from one bracket to the next bracket. Yes, and my dear
20 to 21.
Whoop, whoop. And my dear husband, as we often do, we talk in our power, and he was beginning to listen. Like I was just doing so many things, just trying to get work and church and just ministry, and I was just becoming just tired. And so around about my birthday, he sent me away with to Mexico, and I met 7 other ladies there that I didn't know anything about, but it was really cool. But let me back up. I thought I was going on a trip with my husband, because that would have powered me up. It would have gave me a power boost. And so I packed all of these sexy clothes because I'm thinking I'm going to be there with my husband. And so when I get to the airport, he takes me to the gate, and then he says, all right, I'll see you.
I even took a suitcase with me.
Yeah.
I took a suitcase like we were going.
Yes. He
and then
played
when we
that
got
ticket
there,
too.
I was like, no, this trip isn't for me. It's actually for you.
And 2 women came around the corner, and I just like, oh my goodness, it was a blessing. And then as I went down to the gate, there was another woman that was one of my friends. Wow. And then when I landed in Mexico, he had coordinated all of this with the husbands to get their wives to meet me in Mexico. Wow. And from that moment on, we called that session Tissues and Tears, because we unpacked a lot of heaviness that we were just trying to carry all this weight, and we were able
talk about the women that you went with when you got there. Everyone was unpacking all that because you guys got to be together as a community of women and doing that stuff. That's awesome.
Yes. We just started talking about breaking down walls and being vulnerable. We enjoyed each other, but it was really rejuvenating. And so when we were able to talk about that and release that, it really, that was part of being self-care. Now, Carlos helped me to navigate that. And so now when I came back home, of course, the husband was like, I don't know what they did on that trip, but they need to go every year.
There was a lot of benefiting going on.
There was great benefits because they were able to release, and the husbands participated because they were like, they know they needed that.
Right.
And so
while the women were away for how long was the trip?
About 4 days.
4 or 5
So
days.
for 4 or 5 days, those men had to pick up.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
They had to take care of everything that was going on back at home with the family and finances and the kids and everything else.
Yes.
And that was a part of the whole deal. And I think that basically answers or solidifies sort of, what I said originally was, as a man, we need to be doing that. We don't necessarily have to send all of our wives on 5-day trips to Mexico.
Yes.
Right. But I think we need to be mindful of that. And instead of just sort of thinking, everything's kind of cool and she's taking care of it, we need to actually be intentional about looking at carving out a specific thing for her and saying, babe, I have this.
Yes.
Yeah.
You go and you do this because I know you're going to need this.
Absolutely.
Breathe, pause, be with people you love and not necessarily me. And I bet you came back and loved him even more.
I mean, our relationship has been deep, and as a result of that, and I make it a priority to go every year. And throughout the year, the ladies and I, we're on the chat line, and when we are going through something, we don't just have to wait till the year's out. So we've created this type of community, and it gives us a boost along the way as we're talking through. You can get through that. Let's press through. Let's wait we can't wait till we get together the next year. And so it made me realize that I needed that. And so I began to really start taking time to self-care for myself. He started that. He knew I needed it, but sometimes he just pushed me out there to do it. And so now I do hot yoga sometimes. I play mindfulness music at nighttime because I need to just kind of wind down.
Meditation
and prayer is just so I take those moments, and then when I take those moments, then it allows me to just be present with my husband more and with myself.
Sonia likes to take a nap every day. She really does. And when she doesn't take a nap, she's just is not centered. And it's one of those deals where when I was working out of home, out of my home for as long as I did, I would walk into the family room and she'd be laying on the couch and she'd wake up and she'd look and she'd almost feel. She told me later that she almost felt guilty a little bit about that. And I told her, like, don't feel guilty. You deserve every moment that you can take for yourself, and that if that is taking a nap, then take a nap. Do that.
Yes.
Don't feel guilty about that.
Exactly.
Whatsoever.
I think the women have to, and I want to hear from you, Carlos, as well, but I think the women have to take time to find out what it is that they need in their lives in order to have a peace of mind, in order to be present in all the spaces that they're in. And so I do this kind of 12 rounds of self-care, and it's based on boxing. And I talk about, time, and talk about what's your target. So giving them a plan of action, say my target, my time, and I also talk about, what do you need to release, and just kind of walking through that and give yourself put some targets and goals together, and then start making it happen. Be intentional, because life is going to happen.
Yep.
But if you're not intentional, and so what I have really made it a point to, if I say I'm going to work out, if that's part of just some of my wellness, then if somebody calls and say, oh, I want you to do this, I don't shift that. I make other people work around that, because when I don't get that in, that means I'm not taking care of myself, and then the next day I'm gonna feel guilty. And so I've learned to put that part of me prioritize me.
And don't feel selfish.
Don't feel
selfish about it. It's important. Yeah.
Because it's not just for me. Carlos benefits a lot on that. He really does. And my boys, they benefit a lot. And my community, they benefit a lot.
Because you get cranky when you don't do hot yoga.
I do. I get cramps when I don't do hot yoga.
So in the last, so I was just going to ask you in the last minute, if a lady is listening to this Power Boost right now, what can she do over the next 2 days or week to say, I'm really intentional about my self-care? What would you tell her?
I would tell her to take some time and carve out a moment and then look at what she'd like to accomplish in her life about, pouring back into herself, because you got to know yourself and what you need. And so identify that and then put you a time frame, a short time frame, because you want to be able to have small spurts to be able to get through it so you can give yourself and celebrate when you do that.
Yeah.
So identify it, put a timeline around it, and then start celebrating, and then be consistent. So over and over and over and over. And once you get that down in pattern, you can move on to something else. If that's what I would recommend at this time.
There's power in the pause. Right?
Yes.
And so thank you for listening to the Power Couples Rock podcast. This has been a Power Boost.
Yes.
And
let's get powered up.